What is depression? Hello everyone, I'm Vibha, an aircraft maintenance engineer, a counselor, a mathematics teacher. For the past 9 years of me teaching, I've always been referred to a question that my child is in depression or my child doesn't understand what I want him to do in his life, or I see my child in a very depressed mood. I've always seen mothers coming to me, parents coming to me with a question that why does a child misunderstands what I meant or what I mean to him or what he means to me. For this, I would like to answer you in a very simple and straight line. The answer is in your upbringing. You can see this phase in this era very common amongst everyone. Every second person, mother, children, and even entrepreneurs are suffering from this problem of depression. Even my life also had many struggles. I have seen things which at my age I never expected to turn them out like this. To make you understand what we are doing in our nurturing, what is wrong with their upbringing, which is causing most of the students, most of the kids, most of the adults suffering from depression. I would like to emphasize this with a story. I hope the story makes you clear with the facts that I want to actually convey to you. Once there was an engineer and a professor. Both of them bought the seeds of the same rose plants together. Engineers sowed the seed into a very decorative, elaborative pot, while the professor sowed it into a very simple earthen pot. Engineer had no time to look after the plant and to give it water every single day. So he gave them water altogether once in a while in excess. While the professor gave a very little amount of water in the morning and in the evening. He had plenty of time for he was retired. So he looked after the plant. But then, engineer, envious of the fact that the professor may give more time, but I would give more manure, more fertilizer to my plant, and it'll grow out to be a very beautiful rose plant someday, before the professor had its plant. So he gave it more manure, more fertilizer, more water, and everything in abundance. Within a week, we could see that the engineer had a very beautiful plant, while the professor had a very tiny bud. Professor smiled at it and had no regret of it. Soon after a week, we could see that engineer's plant grew into a beautiful bushy rose shrub, while the professor's plant was still growing, looked not so bushy, not so leafy. But professor still had no envy. Once, engineer had to go to some place. He was away from his house, and there was a storm. The engineer was regretful of the fact that he could not save his plants, and was also envious, tensed, depressed about the fact that the professor was there available at his house and would be able to save all his plants, and then he would boast of his ability of gardening, but could do nothing. After the storm passed away, he went back home in the morning. To his dismay, he found that all the things in the professor's garden were still intact, beautiful, with very little or no loss of his plants. When he looked into his own garden, he found that almost all his plants were destroyed. Even that bushy, leafy rose shrub was uprooted. He was very sad and was sure of the fact that if he peeped properly into the garden of the professor, he could see that his rose plant would also have destroyed. But to his dismay, he found that Professor's plant was still intact and looked more blooming, looked more greener than earlier. He knocked the door of the professor, asked him, did he actually sheltered all his plants, protected them against the storm? And if it was, he should not boast off in front of the engineer anyhow, because he wasn't there. And if he has done this, he would have also saved his plants. Professor replied that he was unwell last night. Because of the storm, he had fever and could not actually come out to save those plants. But he was happy to see that his rose plant was intact, looked more blooming and more green. He was very happy. Engineer asked the professor, what was it that could be done? Or what would have been the reason behind his plants dying and Professor's plant remaining intact? Professor smiled and said, it's quite obvious. I didn't give my plant anything which was in excess. I gave it almost everything that is required and essential, but in a very limited amount. So the roots had to go deep into the soil to extract its water and nourishment. I never gave them any manure and artificial fertilizers. I always gave them the leftovers, which were just mere essentials. So the leaves had to cook their own food by photosynthesis, becoming more strengthy. The vascular system became more powerful. While engineer gave everything in excess: the water, the manure, the fertilizers, and everything in artificial and in excess amount. The roots never thought it to be essential to go deep into the roots, deep into the pot to extract nutrients, and so they were not strengthening themselves. But in fact, engineer, by giving everything in excess, was the reason behind the poor strength of the plant. The answer to your depression is here. Everything that you provide to your kids is in excess, is not required. Give them only which is essential. Give them only which is required. Rest, whatever luxuries, whatever things that they want in their life, they should extract it from their own hard work in labor. Don't spoon feed them, because by spoon feeding them, you are actually not strengthening your child's abilities, but you're curbing and curtailing its ability. Choice is yours. Think before giving things to your kids. Teach them to earn what they want. Teach them to actually work hard for everything. Give them tasks which are not meant for them. Let them fail. They will grow up. They will get that speed. They will get that what they actually want. Just be by their side. Don't support them. And this will help your child to grow from any sort of depression. Depression is not a disease, but it is more harmful than a disease. You're harming your child by giving it which is not required to them. Don't pamper them. I don't mean that don't love them, but teach them the difference of pampering and love. That's all from now. If you like my video and my stories, subscribe to it.